of, I guess, about 8 years of painting florals, all different ways, fractured, palette knife. I was evolving throughout, the time with different ways of doing it. They were never two the same, but I just went and went and went, and it's like, sounds like a really unhumble brag, but it was like I couldn't lose. Like everything I produced, the colours and the shapes and things, I just thought that's what it was always like, to be me as an artist. I thought, this is what I'll do for the rest of my life. I did not see COVID and recessions and stuff coming. And also I was new, and I was doing something that was a bit different, and people were really into it. So I got a gallery in Dunedin from that, and then eventually I came into Flagstaff as well. And Dunedin and Flagstaff remain my galleries to this day. And I was quite happy painting florals. I was really happy painting them. And in the back of my mind, that little feeling came along again that I just wanted to be doing something figurative. I was doing commissions for people of portraits, and I was doing, kids on the beach and all this kind of stuff. I was still doing nudes for my own personal pleasure, nudes of myself. But I was also selling them as well. And I just was like, it's almost like I got to the point where I thought, I cannot keep reinventing the same wheel. Like, I have to evolve or move on or do something, And it was a really risky moment for me professionally, because you really do lose an audience when you change quite dramatically. Yeah. For me, I'm returning to what I used to love. I'm returning to things I've done all the way through. And I'm bringing florals into them sometimes, excuse me. But, for the people who loved those fractured hydrangeas, it's like, where have they gone? What have you done? Why are there suddenly just people dancing and things like that? So that's almost where we're up to today, where I've now spent the last 2 or 3 years really starting to get into what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, what moves me, what makes me want to go to the studio, like what makes me excited to go in there. It's such a good job, and it's not even a job, and I've got a studio space up the street, and I go to work every day and I love it, but it's like, what will make me inspired and excited about going to work? And that's what I've been thinking about recently. So, spoiler alert, I'm obviously fine and healthy, and I'll tell you that now before I tell you the slightly sad part of the story, which was last year I got cancer, unfortunately, and it came out of left field completely. I'd been feeling a bit unwell for a few months, but nothing major, and it was an incredible miracle, really, that the doctor who I saw just tested me for ovarian cancer, which is what it ended up being. And suddenly I was given a diagnosis which looked like it was terminal, and it was a misdiagnosis as it turned out. But for 2 weeks, Anita remembers, because she was my confidant during that time, that I knew that I only had a few months left, and I did think, what do I want to paint? And the painting you talk about from Art in the Park is the painting I did, right? So it's 4 women sitting in the med. They're big women, they're older women, they're in their bikinis, they're not worried about their bodies, they're not sucking in their tummies, they're just enjoying themselves and the company of other women. And the reason that was percolating in my mind was because as I went under for the big operation, they said to me, think of something nice. And I thought, I can't think of my girls, because I'm literally like, ah. So I thought of Anita and I just swimming in Torpedo Bay, which is where we at the time we went almost every morning, winter and summer. We just absolutely loved it. And I just imagined myself and Anita, or Anita, sorry, she didn't sign up for this. Yeah, I'm going to show them. I imagined us a little bit like, and we don't do this, so I don't want to embarrass her, but like those otters that just lie on their back holding hands in the sea. And we used to sometimes do funny things, like when a cruise ship comes in, we would like do some synchronized leg movements for the cruise ship. And, we laughed and laughed and laughed, in the sea. And so as I sort of went, thinking, will I wake up? What's happening? I didn't know if I was going to wake up with any intestines left. They didn't really know what they was doing, and they didn't know how widespread this was. And then I woke up and I was fine. It was 6 hours of operation and 6 days in hospital, 3 days in ICU. It was probably single biggest, hopefully the biggest thing I'll ever do. And the operation is what a wag on the beach told Anita and I was tit to clit, which is, I think, a brilliant. You'll never be able to look at me without thinking of tit to clit now, but I just think it's such a funny way to put it. And she was like an angel, wasn't she? Just walking along the beach, and she just said, I'd lost my hair by then, and she said, you know, are you having treatment? And I said, yes, I am. And she said, I have treatment too. And I said, oh, you know, she said, I had the same operation that you've had by the looks, and here I am, and I'm fine, you know. And lovely Carrie came to visit me as well. Yes, happy birthday to me. Carrie came to visit and shared with me some experiences that she had as well. And, you know, people really kind of gathered around, and I mean, half the people in this room basically fed me and my family for 6 months, and it was unbelievable. And obviously there was no work going on at that point. But I'm pleased to say that when they biopsied everything, there were some areas of cancer, but the majority of it was borderline tumour. And so, while I'm, you know, always going to have scans and tests, and it's got a, you know, it's a difficult cancer. I am no evidence of disease, and you know, you can tell by looking at me how healthy I am and how happy I am. And I learned heaps from it. And actually, I said to Anita the other day, like going through chemo, I think of it almost as a blessing. And, you know, it taught me so much. It taught me how strong I am, but it also introduced me to all these new people. And I'm not glad I went through it, but I can look back at it and see. I can see the amazingness in it as well. But anyway. Long story short, back to the art, because that does really come into it now, is that what am I going to paint if I've only got a year left or 6 months left? That's what I'm thinking now. I'm not thinking, yeah, I might do this, I might do that. I'm not thinking, what does the market want? You know, who's going to buy what? It's like, what do I want to get out of me? And I can see things in my mind, and I know what I want them to look like. I love process, I love paint. I'm very process driven. I'm not usually all about the idea, I'm much more about the act of painting. But suddenly these ideas are coming in, almost without me thinking about them. Female friendship, female bodies, confidence as we age. You know, should I actually wear a bikini this year for the first time in 40 years with my gnarly old scar? Do you know, like, maybe I should. Like, rather than sucking everything in with, you know, all these layers of togs, like, maybe I should be more free. So that's what's kind of coming through it now. I don't think it's life, you know, it's not groundbreaking, it's not life-changing for lots of people, but for me it's something that I need to get out. And what's beautiful is it's resonating around the wider community, the people who are seeing it. And, excuse me, what? The people who are loving them and the people who are buying them are responding to the things that Carrie talked about, which is they're joyous, they're happy. They're the ones I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. The one here is bathers, but there's one at the gallery which you can see after this if you fancy, which is of people dancing on the beach and on tea, which is something that I used to like doing when I was younger. So it's like all of the things that are coming out of me. There's a new painting which is about winter swimming, and it's something that, you know, we've loved, and I wanted it to be foggy and pale and beautiful and ethereal, not kind of like boom 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 like my new normal work. So that's kind of where everything's coming from, and that's basically what brings me here tonight, and